So I think, to be honest with you, the magic. We're live now. The magic is with the Q&A because they get to ask you the questions and see how the system works and all that stuff.
Most definitely. And I'm definitely here. I'm open to that and I'm here for that. So I love the questions because a lot of people don't ask questions and these questions are really good. It's funny too, because sometimes I'll get a question that like everybody wanted to ask, but they just didn't. So I love the Q&A part.
That's my point exactly. Yeah, the Q&A is my favorite part. Roundup, come on in with us today. Burton's out there. What city are you in, Burton? By the way.
Orange County, California. So Rancho Santa Margarita is the city I live in.
You in the beautiful town. Good gracious.
Yeah. The price values reflect that too.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm renting, so I mean, it's very pricey out here to become a first-time home buyer if that's the case. So
I can't imagine.
oh, it's ridiculous. I'll show you. I'll show you in a little bit when I pull up the mobile app. You'll see the price values out here. You'll just be like, what the heck?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Let's see what you got out there, man. Let's show some real examples, right?
Exactly.
Why not? So roundup, greetings, class. Come on and joining us today with Burton. He's the senior product specialist out there at PropStream, and we are here to bring you some very vital, crucial, important information. I was talking about technology. I remember years ago, I paid someone to mail my letters, and then fast forwarded, they had systems online where you could mail out thousands of letters at once. Fast forward now, systems online where you can skip trace and text people thousands and and all at once. It's just amazing what technology is just shortening that conversation time. Burton, what did you say?
Oh, I agree. And we've been around for 15 years. I've been blessed to be part of it for 7 years. And no,
Wow.
you're absolutely true. I mean, when we first started, our product had nothing of that nature, and so we had to evolve. Exactly, we literally had to evolve with the technology. And what's fun is it's not stopping. It's going to keep evolving, and we're going to keep trying to be on that forefront of it. And you'll see exactly what I mean today.
That's nice. Roundup. Thank you for joining us. We got 35 people on here now. I'm Kris Haskins. My mission and ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. And doing that, I just want to bring you the people that we use. It's amazing now that we have this PropStream. I get calls from any of my clients around the country. I can get the property information here, mortgage information, liens, pre-foreclosure, cash buyers, all that stuff, skip tracing all in one packet. Now they have a mobile app. So, and I want to just stress to you, you don't necessarily have to be a real estate investor to use this, because all the loan officers are using this stuff too. They could be in another country, another state, underwriting loans, and you might be getting a loan, and then they see what the property value is. So you gotta kind of have to know what's going on in different states for these lenders too. So Burton, thank you for joining us, and we're going to get right to it. And don't forget, Roundup, get your questions in the chat box. Get your questions for Burton, because he's going to go over a lot of systems, how this thing works. And I've negotiated, like I always do, a discount for you, and Burton can tell us how to get that with the link and all that good stuff.
Most definitely. So let me get my screen over to you guys, and then
hit the share screen button.
Let me go ahead and kind of just break down a little bit about our product and what it can do for you guys. Okay, so let me just give me just a split second here, and here we go. All right, so here's my screen. I hope you guys can see it.
I can't see. Oh, there it is. I got it.
There it is. Okay, perfect. So let's start off, but what is PropStream? What can it do? Let me show you this outline. All right, because a lot of people, that's like the first thing. What is PropStream? What are you guys talking about it for? And why can it help me with my real estate business? So we've been in the business of collecting data nationwide for 15 years almost now. Started in 2006. So it was like foreclosure data back then. That was the gold mine back then. But it's evolved, MLS data, lien data, bankruptcy, divorces. But if you were to ask me, okay, what can PropStream do? It does two important things. One is lead generation. You can actually go into PropStream and search any market in the United States and build your own customized motivated sellers list, or even a buyer's list, because you probably have a contract and you just need a buyer to fund it, right? So there's actually 3 phases to the lead generation part. There's phase 1, where you just build a list by searching a market and filtering through our filters. Then you can save your list and export it, because you're just here for the data. And we understand that. Now, if you need more than just the owner's name and mailing address and subject property address, you would probably want to consider phase 2 of our system when it comes to lead generation, and that's getting contact information. What Kris mentioned a few moments ago is skip tracing that address. Skip tracing is getting an address and the owner's name of that address and looking at sourced records like a credit card app or a mortgage app or an auto loan app and getting you a phone number, a landline, a cell phone, or an email. And so that's phase 2. You've built your list of motivated sellers or buyers. You've skip traced them, and now you've gotten their contact information. So go ahead and export it now. Now you can cold call or upload it to a different platform, whatever you may want to do with it. Or let us just take care of it all for you, right? Let's go to just phase 3, which is marketing. We can directly do that in PropStream. You can build your lists, you can get their contact information, and then you can create a campaign specifically for that list. And that list will get a landing page. So you can actually create a website for your list of cash buyers, for your list of auction properties, and so forth. Now, after creating that free landing page that comes with your subscription, and you can have as many landing pages as you want for each campaign, you can then send postcards, ringless voicemails, or emails. And that's the first part of PropStream. Now, if you were to do that with PropStream or even outside of PropStream, inevitably someone's going to call you and want to sell their house. And we got you covered. The second part of PropStream, or the first part, depending if you already have a contract or not, is to analyze a specific property. You can actually type in an address, and we have over 153 million property records. And when you type in that address and pull up the details, you're going to be able to see the mortgage information, any encumbrances that may be attached to the property, like a lien, a bankruptcy, a pre-foreclosure. You're going to be able to see whether the owner is occupying it or non-owner occupied, if they're in the same state or not. And you can even run comps on that property using public records or MLS records like an agent would. We'll leave that up to you. But finally, you can print reports, right? So you've searched the property, you've looked at the opportunities that you can talk upon, you ran the comps to get that after repair value. Now, well, let's print that stuff out, and now let's go visit that property, or now let's send this over to our buyer, right? So that's what PropStream can do for you. And then we have some additional features like team member accounts, our list automator, and then our mobile app. But let's just jump into it because I wanted to just show you that, but let me actually show you how it all comes together, okay? So let's start off by showing you what happens when you first log in. And when you first log in, we're very transparent to let you know the things that we're doing. So mobile app just got released 2 months ago, list automator,
Nice.
and then we have our weekly webinars. So we don't leave you in the dark. Every week, I give you guys a free webinar on Tuesdays and on Wednesdays. Now, when you close it, we're going to take your internet address and we're going to zoom in on your market. And this is where I am in Orange, California, or Southern California, Orange County. But remember, we're a nationwide data aggregator, so you can search anywhere in the United States. Now, there's 2 ways of searching, and let's talk about specific property searches, right? Let's assume we already have a deal, or someone called us and wanted to sell their house. Now, there's 2 ways to search for a property. You can just go into the search bar, and you can type in an address. And here's an address in Miami, Florida, just so you guys can see. You know, I'm in California, but I can pull up a property detail in Miami, Florida. And when I do that, here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to tell you the local listings in that zip code, how many properties are on the MLS, how many pre-foreclosures, how many buyers are in that market. We're going to give you the statistics to that zip code, how it's trending, things you need to look out for, like if prices have dropped or rent changes have dropped, if the days on market are increasing or decreasing. Those are really important stuff. Now on the map, Google Maps, you're going to be able to see the subject property and the neighboring records. Now the neighboring records are right over here on the right-hand side next to the description of the property. Now this is just a brief description of the property, but below that are your neighbors, or you can see MLS records. You can see pre-foreclosure records and foreclosure records. And we even have some tools on the map to help you out, like changing from satellite to map view. You can even look at our heat map. That's my favorite part. I'm not familiar to this area. I'm in California and I grew up in California all my life, but I'm curious to know what the estimated values are in this market. And now I can see the red dots are the $1 million properties, light blue are 100 or less. But we also have 3 other heat maps: MLS stats, Are there any properties that are currently listed, and what are their listing prices? And so we can see these red dots are the properties listed for $1 million or more. Price growth. Before I get involved in this market, how has it grown in the last 3 years? And we can see several parcels have increased by 100%. So that's not bad.
Wow, that is good.
And then rental values. I'm a cash flowing investor. I like to buy properties, fix them, and then rent them out. Well, what does the rental price look like in this area? And you can see all the properties in this area are renting between $4,000 to $5,000 a month. This is just what happens when you search an address. Funny enough, we haven't even gotten into the details of the property. We just want to let you know what we call the local knowledge, what's happening around that environment. And then finally, you can take your little guy here and just drop them right on the map. And if it's available, we're going to allow you to see the street view. So let me go ahead and drop them right here. Looks like we don't have the availability in that area for street view, but you should be able to actually get another alternative by going into the details. Oh, you know what? It's because I'm in satellite. Silly me. I think if I zoom in now, I should be able to get the street view there. Actually, I might need to go to the details. So I don't think we have the street view in that area. So, and as you can see in some markets, we will not have it. But if we do, here's a property where we do have the street view. This is what it's going to look like. You'll be able to go in the market, zoom in, and you'll see the map tilt. Then you can get your little guy here. And then if the streets are blue, you can drop them on the street. And then we're going to show you that property, right? So this street view may not be available in all markets, but it is available there. And the best way to check is to just click on the guy. And if you see the streets are blue, that's where you can drop them. And then you can take a look at these areas. Okay. So simply searching an address, this is all that we're going to do. But inevitably, you're going to go into the details. And this is PropStream's bread and butter. It's taking multiple sources from multiple providers and putting it together on this one page so you can analyze that property and make a confident decision on it, right? So the first thing we're going to show you is the subject property's photos, its characteristics, and then a summary. Single family residential, it's off market, it's not in pre-foreclosure. Short sell, no, means it has equity. If it said short sell, yeah, it means there's no equity. You probably need to do a short sell or some other creative seller financing strategy. Mm-hmm. HOA, or yes or no, owner type, occupancy status, and then occupancies from the Postal Service. They're going to let us know whether the person's answering their mail or not, right? And then length of ownership, which I believe is an opportunity, right? You have a 4-bedroom property, you lived there for 4 years. What if your kids were 15? They're probably off in college now. What are you doing with those extra bedrooms, right? These are the opportunities that I was referring to. We're going to give you the estimated value, comps that are in the area that have been unfiltered, but we're going to let you know you have 8 to deal with or more if you use the MLS data. As Chris mentioned, we collect mortgage and lien data. So you're able to see how much you got to pay out in order to get this property under contract, opportunity, and then last and prior sell. Now, if you're a data junkie like I am, totally get it. We put all of this information down below here. First tab is property details. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, I was just thinking like big data. As I'm turning into more of a businessman, I'm just looking real estate as one business, but data. I'm just thinking about Zillow. Why is this big data? I feel like data wins every time.
Oh, definitely. Because it's a hard thing to do, but when you do it right, it really helps out. And I'll explain in just a few moments.
Yeah, okay. I'll leave you alone. All right.
So with the dashboard up top, again, if you just love the data and you got to know more, we have several tabs down here for you. So we're going to give you the property details, owner info, property characteristics, land location, legal description, tax information, and then transaction history. That's like 4 different sources on just that one tab, right? So now that I know who the owner is, know the mortgage amount, know the, how long they've lived there, know that they're there or not, I can now run comps on the property. And this is the most important part here because this is going to allow me to use public records. And the cool thing with public records is as I use my filters, right, apply the same bedrooms and bathrooms as the subject property, I can go through the public records and look for a cash buyer. I can look for something that was financed by a bank recently, right? So if you're trying to run comps, you definitely want finance records for public records because these are the properties that banks put notes on. And you can double check by clicking on the photos why a bank would put a note on that property because it's been rehabbed and in fix. But now, not only does having the photos an important thing, I now know what materials you got to use to get a property to sell for 560 in that market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very valuable when it comes to public records. Best practice is to use finance records. Otherwise, if you use a cash buyer, you might be looking at some very low values that aren't real representation of what the after repair value would be.
Yeah.
And then you have the MLS data. So your choice. MLS data are listings that sold through an agent. Now, usually what happens is a property will sell through an agent first, and then it's recorded at the public office, right? So you actually can see listings that sold before the public office even gets it. And actually, you can control the status. So you can look for pending listings, things that are one step away from being sold. Even active listings. If you want to know how the market's reacting this year, you can see what property values are right now with active listings.
Nice.
And then you can put them side by side, right? Why not put them side by side, look through the cash buyers, look through the sold listings, apply my bedrooms and bathrooms, and then you have the ability to increase or decrease your distance. And then apples to apples, if you're running comps on a mobile home, or in this case, a single family property, then you're going to want to need to run comps looking for residential single family properties. But if it's a mobile home, scroll down and check off mobile home. That way we can just give you those results. And then this is what happens. You're going to get your remaining results. 13 results left. Probably want to just go through them and double check their sell amounts. Again, I'm a firm advocate of clicking on photos. Ask yourself, why did that property sell for $599? Here's why. It's been repaired and sold. And this is what it takes to get your property to sell for that amount. So the idea with this situation is to choose records that best represent the property, what it could be after it's sold. And after you've selected your comps, just hit actions and view comp report. And what we're going to do is we're going to generate a PDF file for you that you can take with you when you talk to your sellers and or buyers. And so this is what the comp report looks like. Subject property, the low, the high, and the average in the market, where they're at in that market that you pulled these comps from, and then the sources that you use to pull your comps. And then we're going to even include a summary of each of those properties that you pulled the comps on. And if they still don't believe you after that, we're going to include the photos at the very bottom as well. Mm-hmm. That way you can say, hey, like, I can't give you full price because your kitchen doesn't look like this kitchen right over here. Yeah. Right. And your buyers are also going to want to see this. So make sure you send that over to your buyer. And that's our property details. We do include tax information, mortgage information, and documents and reports that you can purchase as well. So here's the thing that you have to understand. Our system is all about the data. And this is what makes us unique, is that we're going to present you all this data from multiple sources on this one page. But I need you to understand that no two properties are the same. This property is off market. It's not in pre-foreclosure. It has no liens. But when I search another property, in this case, that first property I search, when I go into the details, it looks the same, but the story is not the same. This property is going through a pre-foreclosure. It's going through a lien. It's going through a bankruptcy. And it was on the market recently, and it failed after a year of sitting on the market and no one wanting to buy it. So without even calling the owner, Mr. Hoven over here, I already know the story. Filed for bankruptcy in 2017. The creditors started filing judgments 4 months later. He called his realtor that same year in 2017 to get it listed. A year goes by and that realtor couldn't sell the property. Well, you're still in bankruptcy. You still have a lien. Well, now the lender is going to foreclose on you. So now we're not only back to square one, but you're now in a more serious situation. So this is definitely a motivated seller. And this is because we're able to put that data all together. I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to ask that. Is this somebody that we're thinking, we have your face here. Is this going to be like it's going to fall under the motivated seller category?
I would definitely say so. But before I even call the owner, I got to know how much he owes. Yeah. I got to obviously take care of those liens. And then I need to know what the value of the property could be by running my comps. And that's how this whole system works. Gotcha. Now, this is just analyzing a property, right? How do we build a list? Well, it's this data that we're staring at that fuels our filtering system. So what I just showed you is the ability to just search a specific property. what you can do now is, let's say you don't have a lead yet. You can search anywhere in the United States, like Las Vegas, for example. And when we get you to Las Vegas, we're going to tell you, hey, there's a 500,000 records you can build your own motivated list or buyer's list from.
Nice.
And just like when you search a particular address, we're going to populate these listings for you here at the top. But I'm going to explain the two ways you want to build a list. There's the traditional way of building a list, which is you go into the filter and you choose a list to build upon, right? This is no different than before technology. You would go to the county. I'd like to get your list of pre-foreclosures. Well, here you go, Kris. Here's your 1,200 records. We'll see you later. Then Kris would go home and he would manually go through it and look for the owner-occupied ones. And then he would manually go through it and look for the residential single-family ones, right? And then he would call his agent and say, hey, can you go through these 622 properties I have and tell me which ones are not listed on the market? And then she would get back to him a week later and say, okay, Kris, there's 573 of them that are not on market. And then Kris would then say, okay, well, some of these pre-foreclosures are very old, so I need the ones that were recorded 2 months ago. So Kris would have to go through that list again and only find the ones 2 months ago. This is what technology has done for us. Wow. It has pretty much spoiled us to where we can build lists from multiple sources almost instantaneously. Now, not only do you have these categories, you have ownership info. So if you like dealing with just a person and not a corporation, let's look for an individual. You can also apply lien and bankruptcy. So you can start stacking issues. Like, how do you get out of a pre-foreclosure? You got to pay your debt with the bank. But what if you also have a active bankruptcy? These are 97 people that are probably not going to get out of that situation. 97 people that are probably at a higher level of motivation compared to the collective 1,200 that are there. And then you have the value and equity filters. So you can obviously put your equity that you need to flip the property or wholesale the property. In this case, 50% or more. And then finally, we have mortgage data that you can play with. So how many of these properties have one mortgage assigned to it? Or I like to deal with free and clear properties. So you have over 150 filters. And this is the traditional way of building a list, is you go into a market, you choose one of our 15 categories, and then you add upon it. And when you hit close, here are those 30 properties that you want to deal with, right? Residential, single family, off market, 50% in equity, and any other stacking that you want to do. And at this point, I can check off my results and save it to an already saved marketing list or create my new one, right? Las Vegas, Kris's list. We can hit save. And now that's going to get sent into what we call our My Properties page. Now in our My Properties page, this is your filing cabinet, but this is phase one of lead generation, right? We just searched, we applied our filters, and we saved our lists. Now all I have to do is just find my Las Vegas Kris's lists, check those guys off, and export it onto an Excel sheet. Or if I want more than just the names and addresses, I can then skip trace them. So for just an added cost, I can get a phone number or an email or both, and we have them tiered price for you. But I'm going to go into select contacts, choose my Kris marketing lists, add them to the selected box down below, hit done. When I hit next, hey, for $7.20, we can get you phone numbers and emails. Nice. Let's go ahead and place that order. And when I do that, your order will be sent into the contacts page. That's your phone book. And it's going to be stored right over here. And Burton, at this point,
I want to make sure people, before we leave off that skip tracing one, Roundup, if you're just joining us, I got to make sure I reintroduce you for people that are just joining us. We're with Burton here from PropStream. He's going over the full system for this PropStream software, right? So he's actually showing you how to, right now we're doing the skip trace. I don't want to leave that there, but get your questions in the box. And if you want to go ahead and get rocking and rolling, just go to krispropertydata.com. They gave me a slight discount and you're going to get a free trial to do that. Thank you for coming and joining us, Burton.
Oh, absolutely. And just to recap what I've done so far, talking about the property details that we have, just to show you really quick what it looks like. mortgage data, lien data, pre-foreclosure data, bankruptcy data, even MLS data, and that includes photos as well. So one of the aspects of PropStream is to be able to analyze a specific property. But what I was just tapping on is to be able to actually search an entire market like Vegas and filter for a motivated sellers or buyers list. And then to be able to save those results here on the right-hand side to a marketing list, which we just did a few moments ago, and then to export that marketing list onto an Excel sheet, because we know you need the data on a CSV file because you want to upload it to your marketing providers. We get it. Or you can skip trace it. So within about 5-10 minutes, PropStream can get you a phone number, an email, or both. And if you do skip trace, they're right here waiting for you in your contacts page. And they look just like this. Your 50 addresses with phone numbers and emails right here waiting for you. And this is what I call phase 2, because you've built your list, you've saved it, you now got their phone numbers. Let's check them off and export them, because I'm going to start cold calling, or I'm going to upload it to a dialer, or I have a virtual assistant who's going to call for me, right? Or if you don't have that luxury, right? Maybe you're too busy at home. Your kids are in virtual learning, so you got to make sure they're on the computer. You don't have the luxury of a virtual assistant. Well, let's just run a campaign on it. We can help you by starting a campaign. You can start as many campaigns as you like. So we can call it Chris's campaign. We can choose Chris's list to campaign to. And after we choose his list, when we hit save, we've just initiated another campaign. And remember, you can have as many campaigns as you like, because we know you're going to have different types of motivated sellers and buyers. But the idea with your campaign is when you create a campaign, it's accompanied by a free website. So you get a website to create for these 30 homeowners and just for them only. And then you get to send postcards. So you can start a blank postcard or upload your own, or use one of our predefined ones. So you have several predefined postcards to choose from, but you go ahead and choose one and hit select. And then all you have to do is just hit print and mail, and we'll send the postcards directly to the mailing addresses that you uploaded to this campaign. And we also have ringless voicemails. If you want to send a ringless voicemail to all the 500 phone numbers you just skip traced, or thousands of phone, without even having to pick up the phone yourself, we can do that for you. And we have email marketing as well. So that's the lead generation part of PropStream, is to go in there, search any market. And again, what I showed you was the traditional method, which is to go into a market and choose one of our categories and then build upon that. Save it, skip trace it, market to it. Now, the unique way of building leads with PropStream, again, we've been doing this for 15 years, and we finally discovered that you're not looking for a list. You're looking for a homeowner who's facing a situation that's going to give you a higher probability of getting that property at a discounted price, right? Let's face the truth. That's what you're looking for. Essentially, what I like to call it is you're looking for someone with a problem. So rather than in the past having to choose from a pre-foreclosure list or a high equity list or a vacant list, you could just leave it blank and just build your own problems right over here on the left-hand side, right? Here's a problem today that many people are facing: renting out a property with a tenant who's not paying the rent, right? So go through Las Vegas, find me all the non-owner occupied properties with a tenant, because some of them are probably not able to evict the person not paying the rent. And if you can work with tenants, hey, you got yourself a lead. And then we can add more to it. I'd like a residential single family property, right? One level of motivation is that this property was built in 1990 or before. So not only are you renting it out to someone who may not be paying the rent, but the property is also 30 plus years old. Another thing that's important for those finding off-market properties is go to MLS and make sure it's off-market. But again, you can add higher levels of motivation. It's currently off market because it failed this year, right? And we can put a failed listing date. So it's being rented out. The owner wanted to sell it this year, but it failed. There's 233 properties that wanted to sell, but the owner couldn't do it, maybe because of COVID-19, right? So what I'm doing is I'm not even choosing a list. I'm just going through these filters and building a problem. 30-year-old building, failed this year on the market. Owner is renting it out to somebody. Hey, owner is a person. It's not a corporation. As a matter of fact, the owner lives in a different state. Think about that, right? Different state. You can't travel right now. You're renting out the property. You try to sell it this year. Nobody wants to buy it. What do you do now? And then finally, we can make matters even worse by saying that this property has a mortgage on it. So think about that, right? You might have a tenant this year who's renting out your property, and when they stop paying the mortgage because they lost their job, you're still on the hook for paying that mortgage. And the property that you were cash flowing is no longer cash flowing, right? Your mortgage is $1,500. You were renting it out for $2,000, pocketing that $500 passive income. But then COVID-19 hit, your tenant lost their job. They're sitting in your house. You can't evict them. Who's paying that $1,500 mortgage? You are. These are the 27 properties in Las Vegas where they're out-of-state owners. They have a mortgage and they failed on the market. And again, I can double check all of that because when I click on the property, it shows me that it failed. It has a mortgage and the owner is in New York rather than Las Vegas. I can give Kunal here a call and see if he's willing to let go of that property, and I can perhaps pay off his mortgage. So this is what PropStream is really designed to do, is full data manipulation. Go in a market, either choose a list or do what I just did, build a problem. And when you think of it that way, sky is the limit. Go to Las Vegas, show me all the properties with 3 mortgages. That's a problem that are owned by a person. Here you go, 509 leads. We deal with lenders, brokers, wholesalers, fix and flippers, people that do subject tos, lease options. That's why we kept that filter open for you. Like, for example, if you do lease options, totally get it. What you can do here is go to our value and say, hey, I like a property with a 90% loan to value ratio, owned by a person, and the person's lived there for 10 years or more. Imagine paying on a mortgage for 10 years or more, and your loan to value ratio is still at 90% or more. Here are your potential sub 2 category or candidates right here. That's what PropStream was designed to do. And to add the cherry on top, everybody, we just released our mobile app. So our mobile app was released this year, and it's pretty much PropStream on the go with just a little sugar on top of it. So when you first off, when you get the subscription, the mobile app comes with your subscription. So there's no added cost or anything like that. But when you log in, it's pretty simplistic. You have search, favorites. These are properties that you're saving. You have our driving for dollar feature, history, all the properties that you've searched. And then you have your account settings area where we have video tutorials and stuff for you. But searching is the main thing, right? You're going to a property. So let's type in that address. And now we can see the details of that property. And it's the same details on our mobile app. Nice. Like, for example, that Mr. Hoven address is right over here. So we're still able to see the property details, the pre-foreclosure details, the bankruptcy details, the lien details, MLS details, tax info, transaction history, open loans. You can even buy documents through the application and see the notice of default document.
Wow.
We have photos for you. So you can see the MLS photos if properties are listed on the market or were listed on the market. So what separated our app from everybody else's app out there is that all these other apps were designed for driving for dollars, right? Pull up to a property, take a photo, and then on with the next property. Ours is not that. Ours is to give you the details. So when you're actually at the home negotiating, you're talking with confidence. You're able to talk about the pre-foreclosure, the bankruptcy that they filed. Hey, the owner might even want a value or an offer right then and there. And we got you covered because we put our comps in the mobile app as well. So you can run public record comps, MLS comps, and you can even tap on them and show the owner these comps. Mr. Owner, I can't give you full price because your property looks nothing like this property that's sold down the block. You understand why I'm giving you this offer? So we're able to use the app to set reality. Also, what's important with the app is looking at the opportunity. Here's the thing that no one talks about. When you're driving for dollars and you don't have data with you, sure, you may have come across an abandoned property, but there might be a reason why it's been abandoned for such a long time. And that's maybe because the equity isn't there, right? You might have sent a postcard to a property with a code violation thinking, oh man, I got a lead. Owner calls you, hey, I got your postcard, and are you looking to buy my home? Sure. What do you owe? Well, I owe this much. Whoa, you have no equity. I can't help you. You just wasted a postcard and somebody's time. Simple as that. So what made our system different is that when I'm going up to a property, I can type in the address, I can type in the APN, or if I don't know the neighborhood because I'm driving for dollars, I can go to geolocate and it's going to show me where I'm at the map. And then I can find a parcel. Hey, Chris, remember this? There's a 4-bedroom property, 2-bathroom for $800,000. Southern California prices. But the idea is I pulled up to this property. I can now go into the details, look for opportunities, run comps on this property, see if there's equity to even deal with. And there it is. Person only owes $332,000. Property value is around 800 plus or minus. The equity is obviously the difference of that. So if we were trying to wholesale this property, I mean, we could even offer this person $500,000, do 50, 100,000 in rehab and still make about 200 or more in profit. That's what separated us, to look at the details, run comps on the spot, determine whether it's even worth your time or not. Then you go ahead and skip trace it or send postcards to the property. You can also purchase documents, get directions to that property, and even share that property with a team member or an external member. So that's what made our app just jaw-dropping. People are like, whoa, we've never seen that much detail on the go. And that was what we wanted to do. Now, the cherry on top is, because we know you guys are driving for dollars, is our drive feature right down at the center. This allows you to do two things. First, you can record your drive, obviously, at the top. Second, let's talk about Just Drive first. Just Drive allows you to freestyle. Pretty much what we're going to do is just record where you're going, what you're doing. And the idea is, as you're driving, you can tap on parcels, add them, go to the next parcel, add it, go to the next parcel. And then when you hit end at the very bottom, you can save that drive. We're going to save your route and all the things that you did. Now, the reason you want to do that is when you end your drive, we're going to store it in the more area, and you're going to be able to see all the things that you've done in the past. So as you can see here, here's all the driving activities I've done. So I don't have to repeat the same drive and add the same properties. The idea here is that as you're driving, you're going to show you what you've done. You can even zoom in. And these green houses are the properties that you were adding along the way, right? So if you're like, hey, what property was that? Well, just tap on it. And that's the property you added at that time during that drive. And that's the Just Drive, geared for someone just freestyling. Now, we're PropStream. We couldn't just end it there, right? So we decided to give you a reason to drive, right? Don't just go out there looking for abandoned properties, because that may not happen. Like in my market, you're not going to see too many of that, right? So what we introduced is the set filters in drive option. This actually lets you build a list and drive to the properties on that list. So the set filters in drive is different than the desktop. The desktop lets you search a market like Las Vegas, but that's not the case with the mobile app. The mobile app lets you search a radius. I want to see 5 miles around where I'm standing right now. And then I use the same filters I was showing you on the desktop app. I want to see non-owner occupied properties. I want them to have a lien or vacant or on market or pre-foreclosure. I want certain property characteristics. I want it on or off market or failed or whatever MLS status you want. Pre-foreclosure filters, ownership filters, lien filters, equity filters, and mortgage filter. But once you apply your custom search, you're going to hit apply at the very bottom. And we're going to now show you the properties within your 5-mile radius that meet that criteria. And that's what revolutionized this app, is because, again, you're out there driving for abandoned properties, but look at number one. Number one does not look like an abandoned property. It's a property that's in perfect condition. It's in amazing condition. But why is it on this list? Because there's a lien on that property for $3,100, right? Beautiful home. I would think, why aren't you paying $3,100,
Pay it all.
right? Why? You could have paid for it. I mean, a person living in Southern Orange, California should be able to pay that. I'm assuming I'm stereotyping, but that's the reality. But you didn't. And now there's $3,100 that you are needing to call for. Now we all know what happens when you don't pay a lien. It can turn into a foreclosure. This may be the smoke that's about to turn into fire. And so with the drive feature, I don't have to just go and look for abandoned properties. I can now look for these properties that actually have a lien associated to it, or whatever the filter is that you have built. And so that's what we call driving for a purpose. Now, before I even leave my home, I can look at number one. I know it's motivated because it has a lien. I can now run comps on it. So when I do knock on the door, I can offer the right price. I can look at the opportunity. Is there equity? Yes, there is. And the owner only owes 356 and 3,000 for that lien. But the house values are in the 900 mark. So this is potential right here. If I don't feel like driving to the property, I can skip trace, send postcards, or if I'm feeling up to it, let me just drive to that house today and let's talk to the owner. And that is the PropStream application, the mobile application. And again, it's a two-part system. You'll get the desktop and you'll get the mobile app along with it as well. And so, Kris, that's pretty much it. I mean, I can go on for days, but yeah, that's really what PropStream can do. And there's many, many more. But please join me every Tuesdays and Wednesdays for our overview and breakout sessions.
Nice. I'm just thinking it with with the app, I can select the house with the liens, Burton. That's just amazing to me that I know what's going on with that house as opposed to not having an idea of the motivation and maybe some distress there.
Well, absolutely. And I think that was the biggest thing that separated us, because a lot of people were asking, is this a driving for dollars app? And it does obviously have those features, skip tracing and sending postcard, but it's different because of the details. Here's my analogy. When you're driving for dollars with the driving for dollars app, without any details, you're only looking for physically distressed properties. So if there's 10 properties on a block and numbers 1 and 10 are the physically abandoned properties, then only 1 in 10 are getting a postcard. But with
Correct.
that detail now, number 1 and 10 are getting the postcard, but I can now look at between the 8 properties in between, right? Because number 6, number 4 could be going through a divorce, could have a lien, could have a utility lien. They look perfect on the outside, but they're not perfect on the inside. And that's what separated this app. And that's why people are loving it. They're like, holy moly, this house right down the street that looks amazing actually has a $500,000 lien on it. Let's call the owner and see what's going on. Right.
Yeah,
And that's definitely what separated us from everybody else.
those liens, I just like to tell you, round up, what we like to do is search for the liens and just text them in the ringless voice. There is some motivation. It's like, I do. You call them if they're replying back. I know there's a problem. You got a lien. I know there's an issue. It's almost like we don't have to beat around the bush. That's so cool, Burton. Thanks for explaining that. That's my favorite part. Just want to let y'all know.
No, most definitely. And I love, again, for me, understanding the data and understanding the person, the investor. And there's people have always asked me, what's your best list? Like, what's the best list I can pull from PropStream? And I can't answer that question because we deal with so many different real estate data users that it depends on what you know. Like, again, if you're a wholesaler, you got to have equity. It has to be off market. And then you just got to find motivation. It could be a pre-foreclosure. It could be that they have 2 mortgages or they're in a different state. But if the more you know, and I encourage you to educate yourself on more strategies. For example, if you know subject twos, or you can deal with, you can do creative seller financing, then your filters change. Motivation, off market, equity or no equity, we can deal with it, right? So the more you know, the better it gets. And that's why we kept our filters that way, left it open, because we don't want to gear you to just one strategy at the end of the day.
One exit strategy. Round up. So Burton, they've given us a discount. If you go to my link, it's a website now. KrisPropertyData.com. Burton and Liz, thank you guys. I've been working with them for a week trying to get this thing put together for you. We got a slight discount for you, and you're going to get a free trial. And how many pulls do they get if they want to pull the data information?
During the trial period, so it's a 7-day trial period, and you get a discounted price. It's $97 a month. There's no yearly subscription or anything like that. So in the trial period, you're only going to get 50 properties to source, right? So you'll search 50. You can search any market in the United States, but in terms of saving properties during the trial, just 50. So you can save 50 properties. You can skip trace 50 properties. The skip tracing and marketing is additional, so you have to pay for that. But if you like what you've seen and you try out the mobile app during the trial period and you love it, it's just $97 a month, and we actually will open the floodgates. You'll get 10,000 leads every month from that point on.
Yep. And you got to go through our link to get the discount. Here's the thing, Burton, I know we said it at the beginning, this data technology, being able to just contact people. I know the mailers have been good to me since the beginning of time, right? Direct mail. But as we get more advanced with our technology, the skip tracing, would you say it's almost like a must-have for today's investor, Burton?
I believe so. And I look at it this way. Again, in the past, maybe not. But now with technology being just so invasive to our social lives, again, they say 9 out of 10 people has a smartphone in their pocket in the United States. So that means grandparents and even kids have
Everybody I know has. My kids have it.
exactly. And so in the past, I mean, postcards would have been amazing. Now, they're still amazing to this very day. They're a staple. Don't ever stop doing them. But I think you have to understand your demographics. If you're, let's say, marketing in an area which is known to have senior living areas or senior citizens, then you probably want to send postcards in that area,
Yeah.
right? Maybe follow up with a text message or a phone call, but you're probably going to concentrate more on postcards with that given area. But when you go to like San Francisco or Silicon Valley, right, you're probably going to want to just send an email or a text because those guys aren't going to be looking at postcards. But then I say that hesitantly. Why? Because the pendulum always swings with real estate, right? One thing is great, the next thing is great. Reason why I say that is 2020 came about and everybody's been quarantined since March. So everybody's sitting at home, even millennials like myself. And guess what? For the first time ever, I'm excited to go see my mailbox because I don't get to see people. So more than ever, I think postcards are becoming more important because of just the current situation. Everybody's at home. People are on their phone. So just to be able to step out and get the mail, I think is a big thing. And if they see a green card, a yellow card, red card, that could stand out a little bit. So just my opinion there. Again, the pendulum always swings. So you definitely want to research your market. But in terms of skip tracing, voicemails, and email, it's a big thing. Like do not overlook it, especially because now, again, your current homeowners are usually in their late 20s and mid 30s. And if you look at your 20s and 30-year-olds right now, they're all on social media. They all have a phone. So without a doubt, I mean, they could be motivated sellers in the next few years.
Something, yeah. This motivation roundup. I've been doing this since 2004. I'm older. I'm so a lot older than Burton, no doubt. I have seen come and go. And here's the thing: I'm willing to bank. I'm not like I am. We're setting cash aside. I am planning to be a huge buyer as soon as this thing. And I'm Burton. I'm sure you guys. There's got to be talk around your office about this market just being crazy right now.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And just, I mean, even without like just looking at the data, it's out there. We know just from news articles what's happening, right? We know auctions are being delayed. We know pre-foreclosures aren't being recorded because the counties are closed. We know a lot of people are not paying rent. We know you can't evict people right now because government's preventing that. And there's two sides to the story. That it's a good thing, bad thing, right? Depending on whether you're a renter or landlord or not. But the reality is, I feel just like you, Kris, that the pipe is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's about to burst. There could be a tidal wave of a lot of records, pre-foreclosures, bankruptcies, liens, evictions. So be prepared. Yeah. And understand, again, the data. You're going to be looking for a problem. This year it's one thing, next year it could be another thing. And you got to make sure that you react to that. And I hope today showing you how to manipulate the filters can help you manipulate the situation that you're going to face either now or in the future.
We can help a bunch of people. We're going to help these people, y'all. Help them in whatever situation's coming up, because these loans, the people that have this forbearance is coming. It's coming, man. I mean, I've seen so many of them, y'all. People calling in. People want to sell me a house, then they get the letter. Well, I don't have to make a payment for 6 months, and they're backing off. It's just a matter of time.
You're going to see a lot, man. I mean, and you can just come up with, you could just think of things. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of failed listings, right? A lot of people are not gonna have their jobs. So all these properties that are currently on market aren't just gonna be too much inventory, no demand. I mean, you can think of all the things that are potentially happening because of what's happening now. You just gotta just see what the behavior can be eventually. And so, Chris, I like that you brought that up because again, the pendulum is in the middle of swinging. Once this whole thing dies down and everything is quote unquote back to normal,
Yeah.
that means that foreclosures are back to normal, auctions are back to normal, and you got this backlog of people
Man,
I believe are going to end up falling in that category.
we can be there to help them. Round up and get your questions in the chat box over here, y'all. Get them in for Burton. He's agreed to do some quick Q&A for us. You good with time, B?
Oh, yeah, definitely have time. And I love that question. Will this software work for both residential and commercial real estate investing? The answer is absolutely yes, it will. The only thing that we cannot do when it comes to the commercial real estate part is running comps on him. Yeah, running comps on commercial real estate is not similar to running
Cash
comps
flow.
on a residential. Yeah, exactly. You got to look at cap rate. You got to look at the equipment that's in the building and all
The
that good
tenant.
stuff. So exactly. So we cannot run comps in commercial building, but when it comes to PropStream, you definitely can run comps, find leads. What you do is
You
go
showing
into
something, Burton? Ready to bring it back
yeah,
in?
I'm bringing
Okay.
it back in. So you
All right,
go
let's do
into
it.
a market like Las Vegas, and then all you have to do is go into our filter and play with the property characteristics. Now, when you're in property characteristics, what you're referring to is classification. You can choose commercial, and these are all the commercially labeled buildings in Las Vegas. So there's 669 of them. Now, you can go into property types and look for a particular commercial building like a car wash or a casino or a regular commercial building or an office space. So you can actually get more granular. The only issue with commercial listings is the lack of categories, right? Like commercial pre-foreclosures is not something that we regularly collect. So you won't see as much as regular commercial pre-foreclosures, right? Another thing that we don't collect, for example, is like divorces on commercial buildings. We don't do that. So you're going to get no results found, right? That's why I emphasized earlier keeping the filters open, right? Because now that I know there's 660 or 6,600 commercial buildings, let me build a problem. The owner of that building has owned it for maybe 20 years and they're getting tired of owning it. And it's a person, and that person lives in a different state, right? So that's why I emphasize building your own lead or building problems, because whether it's commercial, vacant land, or residential, you're still looking for a person with a problem. In this case, the problem I'm looking for are commercial buildings owned for 20 years or more by a person who lives in a different state. I'm thinking that they're about to retire. Maybe they need someone to take over that property, or because of COVID-19, this property hasn't been cash flowing correctly. Maybe the business has been shut down, right? So they need an exit strategy. So great question. The answer is yes. We do have commercial records. That doesn't mean that we have commercial listings for commercial buildings. So there might be like divorces and bankruptcies that you'll see no results in. But again, just use the filters. Think of
Yeah.
situations and build that, and you can definitely find a distressed commercial owner.
Good question. Aiden. Good question. Next question. Make sure you round up, put your state in here so we know where you guys are coming from. Sterling, we're going to ask about new updates like senior owners.
Yes, so I didn't bring that up, but no, you nailed it right on the head. We did release a new filter recently called our senior list. And again, we've been playing with data for a long time, and we finally understand the right categories to put together to find properties that have a high probability of seniors or senior owner. And what Sterling is referring to is in our search. So if you go into the search page and you go into the filter, it's right here under quick list choices. It's senior owners. So these are properties here in that market that are owned by a senior. And again, you can add your problems, make sure it's off market, maybe add some equity to it. Maybe it's a senior that, still has a mortgage that, they probably need to pay off.
Or
And it's
two.
or two. Yeah, boom. Yeah, see, Chris, you're now thinking of problems. So not only one, but one or two mortgages, and it's a residential single family property, right? All we're doing is building a probability. So senior owners with 2 mortgages, lots of equity, maybe they need an exit strategy now, right? Maybe they want to stop making those mortgage payments. So that
Gotcha.
is one of our new filters, senior owners. And another one is an ownership info. It's the tax exemption status. We now know the tax exemption for property, so we can find you a property that's been tax exempt as a homestead, which is what most properties are. But we can also show you a property that has a veteran exemption on it or a senior exemption on it. So that's a big one right there.
Burton, for my rounduppers that may not quite understand the exemption, a tax exemption, break that down for us, and why would that be important?
It's important because when you buy a property, you're going to have to pay taxes on the property. But the person you are and your experience as a person, your age, what you've done, is going to allow you to get certain tax breaks, right? Now, if you're a regular Joe and Jane and you buy a property, it's what we call a homestead, right? That's what you call a homestead tax. So there's your property tax on it. So your status as a tax or a property owner is a tax exemption as homestead property. This property is owned by you and it's a homestead. But if you're like, let's say you served in the military and you bought the property with a VA loan, or you're 60, depending on the state, like you're 60 plus, you're a senior citizen, you're going to be in a different tax bracket, and that's recorded. And that's what we're showing you. We're able to say, hey, this property is in a senior citizen tax bracket. So to me, it's stronger because some of these categories, some of these tax exemptions are indicators that they could turn into a lead one day. Right.
Once you stack it too, I'm just thinking exempt,
Oh,
a couple mortgages. That'd be crazy. Lien, I don't know.
no, I love that you thought of that. Yeah, a senior citizen with a mortgage. I mean, that's a problem. I mean, some of them can handle it. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, for me, I'll be frank with you. If I was with my current financial status right now, if I was in my 60s and I had a mortgage, I'd probably want someone to give me a call and see if they can help me out.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. And if I had 2 mortgages, or a lien on top of it too, right? You have tax exemption, 2 mortgages, and there's a tax lien on your property as well. Like now we're higher on that motivation.
Well, Burton, real fast, I have to continue to introduce you. People are coming. We've got 65 people here with us right now. This is Burton from PropStream. They worked out a deal for us. Make sure you head on over to krispropertydata.com and download the software and get rocking and rolling right now. Pull your lists. All business, nothing personal. To have the app is $97. Yes, we got a discount. I think it's like $99 if you go through them.
Yeah.
We'll have access to everything or here or each package.
No, you actually have everything available. The only things that are extra are the add-ons and the additional features. Like the skip tracing is extra, the marketing is extra, because we don't want to force that on you. Again, 3 phases. Some of you guys are here for the data because you already have your own skip tracing provider. You already have your own postcards that you send out yourself. So the skip tracing and marketing is additional. Team member accounts are additional. And then if you have what we call, it's an add-on called List Automator. Pretty much it lets you monitor a list and we can add and remove properties for you. That is also an add-on. But the ability to build a list, 10,000 records each month, and save them and export them, and to use the mobile app, that's part of the $97 subscription. And that's really all you need. Again, the add-ons are there because it's evolving. But I'll be honest with you. I know people daily that don't even use the marketing, don't even use the skip tracing, and they're able to find those leads. But it really boils down on how much you're willing to make it work, right? At the end of the day.
All business, nothing personal. Just for me, the ability to pull comps, what stuff selling for. And then with the MLS and pending stuff, it's just amazing, because just years before, we couldn't do any of this stuff. Let's see. Nice apps. Seems to cover residential. Yes. Residential for the majority. Yeah. Generally speaking.
We have commercial buildings as well. Again, you just tap on the parcel of that commercial building and it's going to give you that detail, who the owner is, the mortgage information, all that good stuff.
Gotcha. Hey, Rick. Hey, Burton, do you have a list of areas where PropStream does not cover MLS or public records?
No, we don't have like a coverage map. I mean, the reality is, Rick, there are some small areas throughout the nation that we just don't collect data. Typically, though, just my experience with that, it has to do with the population. The more populated the area is, the more records come out of that area because, again, you have more people, more problems. So those are the areas we typically get records in. Now, the other challenge is that area even, what technology do they have? Is it electronic? Do we have to physically go get it? Do we get it by mail? So there's that. There's all sorts of variables. So here's my answer to that. We're a nationwide provider, but I'm not going to say that we have every single zip code in the world or in the United States, because if that zip code only has 400 people living in it, we're probably not going to be collecting data in that area. Now, we do collect tax successor data. We do collect tax delinquency data. So we'll at least have the tax records on that property. But in terms of like a pre-foreclosure record on it, or a lien record on it, or the MLS record on it, probably not, because that takes more effort to get that data. As for the tax data, that's usually provided to us on a nationwide level.
Well, Rick, if you have the software, then you have the ability to kind of move to areas where they will be reporting this data.
Yeah, that's really the only way to check, Rick, is to just search that market that you're going to be investing in, and then seeing if there's enough data there. And if there just should be enough. But again, if you type in an area and it says zeros across the board, that's probably an area where, again, we're not going to have those listings out there, but you may still be able to see property details, like the property's bedrooms and bathrooms and how long it's been owned, which, again, if you use the filters correctly, even though we have no listings there, you can probably use the filters correctly and still look for a lead, like a owner in a different state. That would be a lead, even though we don't have the pre-foreclosures and whatnot.
All businesses, this is a time saver. Overcoming in Christ. Where have you been all my life? Oh my goodness. Al, entrepreneur. Hey Al, while driving for dollars, does the app give you the ability to highlight properties on your route? I think you went over that a little bit.
Yeah. So not on your way to your route. So when you're driving for dollars, again, there's two ways to do it. And the first way is just drive. That feature is freestyling, where we're just going to record what you're doing. You go and drive, and you go and click on the properties as you go on your drive. And then we'll save that and store it in your settings page, so you can refer back to it later and see what properties you've saved and the routes that you took. The other one is where you set a filter. So you stop, you set a filter, and then we say, okay, these are the properties that meet your filter around you. And then you just go drive to them one by one. We, at the moment, haven't created a route creation system where we can show you, okay, these are the 10 properties that meet your criteria. And then at a push of the button, it generates an automatic route for you. Not yet. We're still working on that logistics part.
I'm just glad you got the app working. We were waiting for that for a minute. Ruben, hey, can you search for FSBOs and for rent bows?
No, you cannot. So FSBOs and for rent by owners are pretty much governed by the actual owner itself. And we don't actually allow anybody to go into our database and add their own listing into it. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. When you allow a homeowner to apply their own property listing, the challenge is that how accurate is it, right? And we don't have the system nor the team to double check the input, right? They could be putting some erroneous values. This is why some of these websites that do that have gotten bad reputation on their estimated values, is because when you're allowing a person to put in their own listing, the value that they're putting is going to ruin the algorithm that you're using in the neighborhood, right? If someone accidentally puts 50,000 for their listing price instead of $500,000, that 50,000 is going to drag the estimated value down to every property in that neighborhood. And that's why when you go into those websites, you're like, wow, these estimated values are way off. And it's because they're allowing people to edit information manually in their platform. Gotcha. We don't do that. We take data from our sources, put it in here, and then that's the information that you're going to get.
Good question. Overcomer in Christ. I live on the East Coast. Can I search properties in Maryland?
Absolutely. Nationwide data. And you can step out of Maryland. So if you ever figure, hey, I want to market in a different market, our product is heavily used by virtual wholesalers across the nation. They don't even leave their seat. They're pulling leads, running comps in different markets. And that's what our system is known to do. So yeah, you can definitely search in your market and in other markets as well.
Pastor Kenneth, hey, how often is the software updated, Burton?
Well, that's a tricky question. So it's a two-part answer to you. The first part is that we update every day. And I have to give you an analogy to this, right? If you ever see those big skyscrapers in New York, the ones with revolving doors that constantly spin, you can go in anytime you want. That's what we are. We're this huge building of data. The door is constantly spinning. the data can come in anytime. And that's the tricky part, right? So we update every day. The data that comes in is different because the data comes from different sources. MLS, vacant, which is Postal Service, mortgage data, lenders, pre-foreclosures county, bankruptcy courthouses, divorces courthouse county. So we are constantly updating, but what you're referring to is the frequency. Frequency is different across the board. So with like our high equity list, that's only once a month. Why? Because people only make a mortgage payment once a month. So our numbers only get changed once a month. But the MLS, that comes from the brokers directly, right? We get the listings from them, so we can get it within 24 to 48 hours. But that doesn't mean that it's 24 to 48 hours across the board. Like for example, we could have gotten a listing today in LA County, but in Dallas, we didn't get any listings today, right? So we update every day, but the counties, the MLSs, the Postal Service in every county has a different frequency. Like one of the biggest examples I can give you, pre-foreclosures in Texas, they only come out twice a month, 1st and 15th, and they only do auctions every Tuesday of the month. So in that market, you're not going to see a pre-foreclosure update every day like you are going to see in like Miami or in LA. But then again, to add more to the factor, what has happened with COVID-19? These counties are closed. Where do these records come from? The county. That's why me and Chris were talking about this huge like tidal wave coming, because there's a lot of people going that are facing problems right now that haven't come to light yet. And when it does, oh man, these recordings are going to come out fast. But there are counties that are completely shut down that we're not able to get sell records from. We're not able to get pre-foreclosures from. Now, sell records, we're still able to get it because that's kind of like a federal law. But when it comes to like listings, there's no control. We can't force a county to give us pre-foreclosures if they just don't have the manpower to record that type of document. So
yeah, they don't even have them. They're not even foreclosing, Burton. I mean,
I think there was a memorandum recently that said all foreclosures are postponed going forward. Yeah. So that's going to impact these pre-foreclosure and foreclosure records.
David, good question, Kenneth. David wants to know, how does the software know if a house is vacant?
United States Postal Service. So every day, the mail carrier, man and woman, is there to drop your mail off. What happens is after a few days, if anywhere between a week, maybe perhaps 3 weeks up to a month, that the mail that you're supposed to be getting is not being delivered, it's going to get flagged as an undeliverable property. And undeliverable properties are put on a vacant list. So that's the Postal Service's list. And pretty much what it is properties that are undeliverable by mail. Now, here's where you got to be careful. Vacant to a real estate investor is different to a post office worker. Vacant to real estate investors are properties that are abandoned, they're boarded up windows and whatnot, right? Vacant to a postal office is just someone that's not answering their mail. So you definitely want to filter our list. Again, our vacant comes from the Postal Service, but you want to make sure you're adding years of ownership, because you're going to see some recently sold properties in there, right? A property could be vacant because let's say Chris sold me his house, right? Chris forgot to forward his mail. I forgot to forward my mail, because a lot of people don't forward their mail until after they've settled in, right? So Chris sold me his house a month ago. He hasn't forwarded his mail. I've been living there for 2 weeks. I haven't forwarded my mail to that address. The mail carrier is like, okay, who's living here? Chris is not answering his mail. Burton, this guy who's moving his stuff in, he's not getting mail here. Yeah, let's put it on the undeliverable by mail list, right? And so recently sold properties can be on that list. Also, properties in between tenants. You can see this very frequently with non-owner occupied properties. And I think that's a lead. When you see a non-owner occupied property and it's vacant, it means either it's actually vacant or they're in between tenants, which means, hey, you can now deal with a non-owner occupied. Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to deal with evicting a tenant or having to deal with someone living there and having to kick them out or anything like that.
Good one, David. Tabit wants to know, Burton, what does the estimated value mean and how is it calculated?
So the estimated value is an algorithm that we use. It's a proprietary algorithm that's given to us by our providers. But what it does is it looks at similar characteristics as to the subject property. So if you pull up a property that's a 3-2 bedroom property, we're going to look in that market and look at all properties that recently sold that are 3-2 with similar characteristics, and then calculate their sell prices and average it out to give you an estimated value. But here's why I don't encourage you to go with it, right? Because what if someone says, how did you come up with that value? You're in trouble, right?
Mhm.
So what you want to do is stay away from the estimated value. You actually want to go into our comparables and get your own value.
For your own.
Exactly. And for two reasons.
For your own.
When you're looking at an estimated value, remember it's dictated by a computer system. There's a difference between a computer and a human. And what that difference is photos. Estimated values can't look at photos and say, oh, yeah, the property was rehabbed, right? That's why running comps is important, because when you're running comps, you got to look through the photos. Oh, yeah, this property had a rehabbed, and that's why it sold for 600K. These estimated values cannot do that. They can't look at the same photos that you're looking for. That's why running comps and estimated values are two separate things. So my point being, don't look at the estimated values and don't ever use it as your after repair value. Look at it as, oh, okay, properties in this area are around this price.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice to know, right? But let me now run in the comps and see what properties are actually selling for with the same features and go from there.
On that. Pull your own comps. Don't round up. Please don't depend on a computer to tell you what the value of the house is. The computer is just doing this, just pulling data.
We've seen enough Terminator movies to know that, guys. Come on.
Al Entrepreneur, can he build a team with this app, and how many drivers can he have?
Yeah, you can actually go into your settings and access up to 5 team members. We call them scouts. So you can get 5 free scout members. They get a limited version of the mobile app. It's in your settings. You got to be on the desktop first to do it. So log into the desktop, go in the settings. You'll see Timber. But you can get 5 scout apps. And these are people that just add properties to your list. Nice. And then you can pay for your actual full-fledged team members. So you can get someone who has full web and mobile access. So everything you do, they can do. And yeah, 5, if you need more, just call customer support and we can get you more if you need more.
Jamon wants to know, does the senior filter start at 55? And will there be a filter for 2-story homes? Good question.
Yes and yes. Well, the senior filter, I really can't tell you the age limit because that's our secret sauce. Just know that based on the data that we've collected, again, we have the tax exemption data and all that. The senior list, I would say on average is about 60 plus on that. Filtering 2-story homes, yes, we actually just added that last week, or actually beginning of this week. It's in the property characteristics. You'll see a story filter. It says maximum minimum. So if you're only looking for 1-story properties, put 1 in the maximum, and you're only going to see 1-story properties.
Good question, Jamal. You guys are on it, man. Regina, Atlanta. Hey, working on tax sale overages. I have the addresses and would like to leverage the skip tracing and direct mail features. Is that possible?
Yes, it is, Regina. So when you are in PropStream, on the left-hand side, we have a contacts icon. You can go into the contacts page and you can actually import your own data. As long as you have the homeowner's name, physical address, or mailing address, it can be skip traced and it can be marketed too. So yes. To answer your question, yes, you may do that.
Yes. Rick, do you know when the app is updated? We did that. I think the new update will disable the scout's ability to assign team members.
Oh yeah, Rick. I saw your post on. I think okay. Now that's why your name looks so. No, that was sent over to our team, and right now we're just implementing it. So I don't know what the ETA is. I'm not a coder, and I know coding can take a while. Think of it as putting a piece of domino in an already set maze of dominoes. Like when you put a code in the middle of something that's already established, that it has to fit right, because if you do it wrong, then all the pieces start falling apart, right? Mm-hmm. One line of code could affect every other line of code. So yeah, we did see that request where we don't want team members to assign it to other people and so forth, so or see each other. And yeah, that's definitely coming in.
Regina, she wants to know, can you skip trace a previous homeowner, or is it, I thought it's usually just the current one, right? I don't know.
Usually the current, but if you technically know the previous owner's name, you can just put the previous owner's name and that mailing address or the property address and potentially get that information. But I question that, because how old is that contact information that you're getting? If the previous owner owned the property 2 years ago, and then you skip trace that address with the previous owner's name, you may get data on it, but that data is 2 years old, because remember, the owner was using that address on documents 2 years ago. If they changed their phone number, if they got a new email, then you're out of luck. So in theory, yes, you may. As long as you have the previous owner's name, first and last, and the subject property, you can give it a shot. And if it gives you results, you're going to get billed for that. If not, we don't charge you at all. But again, I say that hesitantly because if the previous owners owned that property many, many, many years ago, you might get really old data.
Yeah. And the skip trace it's not much. You're talking about pennies.
Pennies. Yeah, exactly.
And my last one, so we can get you out of here. Overcoming Christ. I understand you pay monthly, but is there an annual fee as well, Burton?
There is. I don't know what the actual annual cost is. I know that you get a discounted cost, but what you want to do is email us, support@propstream.com. First off, let us know that you were referred by Kris, so that way we can get you the discount and get you the discounted price for the year, the plan as well. But
So
yeah, we do have a yearly plan.
I think she wants to know, oh, is there the monthly and a yearly fee, or just
There's usually just a monthly fee, but we do have an annual fee. That's just something that you have to do by request. Support@propstream.com. So let us know that Kris sent you and that you're interested in the 1-year plan price, and we'll let you know what it is by email.
I think her question was more or less, she thought she had to pay both, like a monthly and a yearly. So it's either or. You either pay monthly
or annually.
Yeah. Annually. So overcoming Christ, this is it. That's all. Final thoughts, my brother Burton. We'll get you out of here on big data, PropStream. Make sure you go to Kris Property Data Roundup to get started right now. Go. I'm telling you, this is light years ahead of where we were at years ago getting this data done. Final thoughts, Burton. What did you leave for my Roundup family here today, my friend?
No, just I hope you guys learned a lot today. Remember, this technology is here to help. I know it can be overwhelming and you want to shy away from it, but I hope that you guys understand with the open filtering that we have that you're here to build problems. At the end of the day, that's what we're all looking for. We're all looking for someone who has a problem and you're going to solve that problem. And that's really my final thought is I hope you guys, go out there and solve these problems. Kris and I spoke about it. I mean, there's a lot of people that are heading in that direction, and you guys are the ones that are going to prevent them from, losing everything. And so at the end of the day, man, I hope you guys go out there and solve problems and, save a person's life or two financially. And with that said, thank you guys for having me, and I appreciate it. And you guys can get a hold of me, Facebook, Instagram, or even give us a call at our customer support line.
Roundup, you heard it right from the horse's mouth. Burton is at the building right now and helping develop this this software. It's so cool. Make sure you subscribe. Go to Kris Property Data. Get your free. It's free for 7 days, and it's a few dollars a month. You are going to. Here's the thing. If you're like me, years ago, I tried to save money, right? I'm like, if you don't, you're gonna have to spend nowadays because this data is available. And if you don't spend, I promise you, the next guy is spending, he's getting these leads, he's getting boom, 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 closing deals. I've seen it happen. I'm doing, we do it. You're going to have some type of software today's market, because this is a nationwide market, y'all. This is nationwide. People are doing stuff, calling me. We're pulling comps all around the country. All right. And the only way to do that is if you have some type of a software. You can't have a realtor in every market, right? All right, like the content, subscribe, share with any other investors that need to get moving on getting some offers and getting some leads in, and skip tracing too. All right, Roundup, I'll see you soon. Thank you. Thanks, Burton.
Absolutely.